Know that all states of being, be they of goodness, passion, or ignorance, are manifest by my energy. I am, in one sense, everything, but I am independent. I am not under the modes of material nature, for they, on the contrary, are within me. Hare Krishna. This is a very interesting verse, what Lord Krishna speaks. And it will be very difficult for any mortal person generally to understand that someone can direct some energies indirectly, but be not influenced by these very same energies. We don't have any much of any example in this material world. There's so many energies in this material world. Let's take fire. We controlling a big fire and putting wood in and fuel, and at the same time I'm not influenced by the fire. If we put wood into the fire and stoking the fire, naturally we are under the control of the fire. We see the light of the fire, we feel the warmth of the fire. So we're there putting the fuel in the fire, so we are affected by the fire. But Krishna is not like that. Although he is the master of the three modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, he's completely aloof. His energies, also external energies, that's still his energies. So the whole world is under the spell of goodness, passion, and ignorance. But Krishna is not affected. Krishna is not affected by anything. No, it's his creation. And at the same time, he's not touched by his creation at all. He's completely aloof. So we don't have that concept in this material world, but whatever we create, we are always subject to that creation. But Krishna is not like that. And more, he says, I am in one sense everything, but I'm independent. That's also a very puzzling statement. I am in one sense everything. Yes, in what sense is Krishna everything? Because everything is Krishna's energy. As he says before, these states of being, the states of being, more precisely, goodness, passion, and ignorance, sattva gun, raja gun, and tamagun. These are states of being. We'll look into these states in a moment. What does it mean, goodness, passion, and ignorance? So these are states of being we cannot escape. As human beings, we are under passion, goodness, or ignorance at any given time. Not purely, but these modes of nature. The Sanskrit word is guna. Guna means rope. And Srila Prabhupada gives that example. Someone may walk on the road and suddenly gets jumps in shock because he sees a snake in front of him. Snakes are very dangerous. You're stepping on a snake and it bites you in your ankle. Or even if you don't step on her, it bites you in your ankle, because snakes are very envious creatures. And once a snake bites us in our ankle, then the poison immediately starts. working up, up, up. And if we don't get some antidotes, the material body cannot withstand the poison of a snake, what to speak of a cobra. So these are the states of being. Everything and everyone is under these modes of material nature, under this guna. So the example is given, if someone mistakes a rope for a snake, they look very similar from a little bit of a distance, or a snake for a rope. A rope for a snake, it can be very dangerous. Oh, there's a rope, let me pick it up. Oh, it's a snake. So if someone mistakes that, that is the material illusion. That's an example of illusion. We mixing it up. We don't properly understand what is a rope, what's a snake. So illusion, guna, rope. And the other meaning of guna is a rope. We are bound up by that rope, by these three ropes, in fact, goodness, passion, and ignorance. We are bound up. So tightly bound up, we cannot escape. If someone is bound by hand and feet, how can he free himself, except one is a very special magician who are bound up with chains, and then in due course of time they freeing themselves. That's a special kind of skill. But generally we are bound up. We cannot free ourselves from these ropes, goodness, passion, and ignorance. We are tightly bound, hands and feet. So what to do? How can we become free? We need someone who is not bound. Because if someone else is also bound, someone is tied up with ropes, hands and feet, and there is another person also tied up, hands and feet. Oh, can you help me? No, I can't. I'm also tied up. So a bound person cannot free another bound person. Or hundreds of bound persons. Nobody can free each other because they're all bound. That is generally in this material world. There are so many solutions, proposed solutions, material solutions, which trying to liberate us, to free our consciousness, to make us happy. So many solutions, but it's all the same story, all bound up. All bound up persons trying to put forward they can help. No, a bound up person cannot help another bound up person. So one person must be not bound, a liberated soul. That's what it means, liberated soul. Must be on the Brahma Buddha, Prasanatma, on the Brahma Buddha platform. That's a liberated platform. What does it mean, liberated? People don't generally have much an idea what is liberation. The word for liberation is mukti. Generally, people don't have an idea what is mukti. Also, they have a very great idea what is karma, what is dharma. Dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. Here we are, moksha. Everybody knows within the Indian, from an Indian background, everybody knows from small childhood on. Dharma, religiosity. Artha, economic development, because of religiosity. Kama, fulfilling our material desires. Once we have gained some economic prosperities, and we want to enjoy it. We get more money, we want to enjoy it, we get more facilities. We worked very hard, we have been religious, pious, and then material prosperity will automatically come. And then after material prosperity has made its appearance, then we want to enjoy it. with the family, with the wife, with the children, of course. That's called karma. And after we are not happy, we are frustrated. Perhaps in old age, we tried so hard to become happy in this material world through dharma, artha, karma. Then we want moksha. Ask anyone from an Indian background, what's the goal of life? Moksha. Everybody knows moksha, liberation. But you ask them more, what does moksha actually mean? Nobody knows. So for most people, their understanding of moksha is to merge into the Supreme, into the Absolute, into Krishna. Merging. That's one type of moksha. Most people cannot even answer this question. But that's one type of moksha, to merge. Why do people want to merge? If we, after so many trial and errors to become happy in this material world, we're becoming frustrated. And why are we becoming frustrated? Because of other people. We're not generally becoming frustrated because, yes, of course, things break or things go wrong. But generally, the most friction is because of other people. Then one realizes that after some time, what's that friction? People get happily married and then they get divorced. There's a friction again. People have a family and children, and the children going away. Or they're not interested in their parents anymore. Friction. Friends have friendship together, and things that will last eternally after some time are falling out. Friction. Nations and nations have good alliances and neighborliness, and after some time they become enemies. Friction. They're fighting, country against country. So it's because of people that all this friction are there. So if someone thinks of moksha, they think, okay, I have enough of this. Let me just merge into the Absolute, into the Supreme. Let me just merge. Let me just give up my existence. That's what merging means. It's like a moth at night. The moth is attracted by the fire and merges into the fire. Of course, the moth dies by merging into the flame. But there is a class of people, a big class of people, they want to end their suffering. The suffering in this material world, they understand that after some time, not perhaps when they're very young and strong bodies and minds and intelligence and intellect, and they think the whole world is here for me to enjoy. But after some time, coming to mid-age, what to speak of old age, and they have to face their own mortality, and they haven't achieved anything except accumulating some wealth, but happiness has escaped them. I mean, not this petty happiness of eating some nice meal, even that doesn't last very long. And when the food is digested, and they're hungry again, and they need to eat another meal, and that is so not that happiness. People want to truly be happy in this material world. So when that is frustrated, then they want to just let me forget it, or let me just end the pain. That's what moksha means, impersonal moksha. Let me stop the pain. If one cannot understand material life is painful, then he has a very long way to go to become self-realized. The first step of self-realization is to understand we are suffering in this material world. If we think the enjoyment is all out there, I'm enjoying life to the fullest, then it takes some time. It may be taking us 50, 60, 70 years to understand there is no enjoyment in this world. It may take many lifetimes. People try. If they're not successful in their enjoyment and happiness in this world, then they take another birth and they're carrying on, trying to economically improve themselves and materially become happy. Of course, those who have realized, to some extent at least, that this world is full of suffering. We spoke about Buddha earlier on, Amit and me. We mentioned that. So that is how Siddhartha, Buddha, how he became realized. He was a prince, and the parents kept everything negative, every suffering away from him. Overprotective parents, you could say. Of course, no parents want to see their children suffering. And no parents want to see that the children seeing things which is suffering. So they kept everything away from Siddhartha, the prince, the king, emperor. Very powerful dynasty. So they kept the prince within the walls of the kingdom. So he never was confronted with any suffering. They just kept everything away which could hint at any suffering. He has never seen anybody poor, only prosperous, enjoying people, happily smiling people. Like nowadays, people want to see that. Therefore, they're turning sometimes to social media. Only positive stories they want to see. Not all. There's so much negative things going on in this world. People killing each other. There's wars. There is suffering. There's screaming. There is blood and all of that. So people don't want to see that. They want to see happy Facebook reels where everything is happy. So the parents wanted Siddhartha to also see only happy things. No, he has never seen any old person. I've never seen a poor person. What to speak of a dying person? He has never seen that. So he thought, oh, such life is very, very nice. But somehow, as of one day, he managed to persuade his companion or caretaker, whichever word we want to use, to take him outside of the walls of the palace. And then he was confronted with poverty. People sitting on the street have nothing to eat. We ask him, what's that? Well, that's common. That's a poor man. Due to his past misdeeds, he has come in a situation where he is suffering now. And then he saw a sick person, leprosy. He said, what's that? I've never seen anything like that. So it was explained to him in a similar way. And he has seen someone dying. That shook him. That gave him a big shock. And if that is reality, very different from the reality in the palace walls. There was no sick person, no dying person, no poverty, no old age, nothing. So he thought, if that is a reality, let me meditate. So he went, sat under the Bodhi tree, Buddha Bodhi tree, and he achieved enlightenment. So suffering needs to be experienced or seen to jog us into pursuit of self-realization. It's not possible for someone to become Krishna conscious if they're on the height of their sensual enjoyment, and they think there is nothing better than that. Srila Prabhupada used to say to his early disciples, your qualification of becoming Krishna conscious is that you had enough of this material world, and they had. The hippies in the 60s, they had enough. What did they do? They had no directions. But what did they do? They turned to LSD and marijuana and worse. And they turned to free love and happiness, and rejected all the norms of society. Flower power. San Francisco was the heart of the flower power hippie movement. The parents were well off. They were industrialists and middle and upper class upbringing. But they could see the falsity in all of that. And so they rejected it all, and they became hippies, loitering on the street, until Srila Prabhupada picked them up and gave them purpose in life, and they became beautiful devotees. So if people realize in this life or in any future life, they see, like Prince Siddhartha, that so much suffering in this world. Even if we just see suffering in this world of others, we must conclude, I will also subject it to this kind of suffering. If we see an old person, only a foolish person will conclude, I will stay eternally young. I not have to walk on a stick with bent back, shuffle my feet along. No, if we see an old person, then we must conclude, I will end up like that person also. If we see a sick person, only a very ignorant person will think, I'll never become sick. No, everybody becomes sick. It's a part of the setup of this material world. So, what to speak of the greatest mystery, which was given as a question to King Yudhishthira on the lake. What is the most amazing thing in this material world? The most amazing. There are so many amazing things. What was the most amazing things? And he answered correctly. We see everybody dying, but still we live and think it will not happen to us. That is illusion. What a great illusion. We see our friends are disappearing, our parents are dying, everyone. But we know theoretically we'll also die, but it doesn't really sink in. Yes, I will die, but I don't live my life in a way that I'm prepared to die. I just carry on enjoying my life and wasting my valuable time. Why valuable time? Because if we waste our time, and Srila Prabhupada says so many times, don't waste time. If we waste our time, then we may not make it in this material world. It's just like a child is not preparing for the exam. The child is rather playing with the friends, distracted, and the exam comes closer and closer. So the child is wasting his or her time. And then when the exam comes, he's not prepared. In some European countries, if we fail to achieve our exams, our grades in a particular year. Year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's not like in this country. We're just moving on. No, on the continent, in Germany, in France also. If you don't get the right grades at the end of the year, you have to do that year again. How embarrassing is that? You have to do that year again. With a group of children, they're all 1 year younger than you. And if you 2 times you miss, and they're 2 years younger than you, and everybody knows, oh, he failed. He couldn't move on to the next year. He had to redo the whole year. So if we fail to achieve the goal of the human life, of the human form of life, we'll have to come back. Do the year again. People don't like to think about that. I have to come back. Because they're so much absorbed. I just think about here and now. I'm not thinking about the future. But there's another illusion. Everybody makes sure they have some insurance. When they travel, they have travel insurance. At home, they have some home content insurance. With a car, they have some car insurance and this insurance and that insurance. Wow. So they make sure materially they are kind of set up. But spiritually, who cares about ensuring that they don't have to come back? They put it out of their mind. They don't want to think about it. I have to come back. I have to die. Even to die, they don't want to think about it. Oh, nobody likes to contemplate or think, except the sadhus in India, the Shiva Babas, Shaivites. They have their residence in the cremation ground. Why do they have their residence in cremation ground? Well, when they put from the funeral pyres, they put the ashes over them. Why they doing this? Because they purposefully, they want to be reminded that death is a reality. They're contemplating, they're thinking about death. Devotees also think about death. Why? Because Srila Prabhupada told us that moment at death, that's the most important moment in our life. Wow, the most important moment in our life, because whatever consciousness, Lord Krishna is saying that in Bhagavad Gita, what consciousness we have at the time of death, that determines what happens to us after death. If we take another body, what kind of body we take, if in the mode of passion or ignorance, then we'll get so. If in the mode of ignorance, we're going down to the animal species. We're taking a body of an animal. How is that? We're so intelligently speaking, and then the next body, next incarnation, we can only do woof, woof, woof. We want to say something, but out of our mouths comes only woof, woof, woof. That's not a very wonderful contemplation, so people don't want to think about it. So Yudhishthira said to Dharma at that lake, the most wonderful, amazing thing in this world is that we see everybody dying, but still we think we will not die. It will not happen to us. Or at least we don't take it seriously. We don't make an insurance policy. You could say we have so many insurance policies, but where is the death insurance? That we don't take another birth. We don't have another death. This is our last death. Where is that policy? Krishna consciousness is that policy. That we, one more death, and then to the spiritual world. No more returning. No more birth. Actually, Shastra says no more birth. But if there's no more birth, there's no more death, logically. That's the insurance policy. But people are not interested. Not many. We had a verse recently, Manushyanam Sahasreshu. out of thousands of people, only one person may be interested in self-realization. And amongst thousands of those who are interested, hardly anybody knows Krishna in truth. You know, Krishna is not that easy. People have all kinds of conceptions. What is Krishna? What is God? Oh, it's a big light. It's an energy. It's a higher intelligence. Yes, yes, yes. But to know Krishna in truth means much more. He's a transcendental personality. He's a person, human-like form. That's the ultimate form of God. It's human-like. And that not only the Vedas are saying that, the Bible says that as well. Christians should know. Anybody, what is the first, at the beginning of the Bible? God saying, I made man in my own image. Oh, if you make something in your own image, if you take a piece of clay, you make that clay, you form it in your own image. How does it look like? Just like you. 2 legs, 2 arms, hands, head, everything. 5 toes, 5 fingers. That means I make man in my image. So that means God is just like, it's like a person like we are. Of course. Vijay, Hare Krishna. Thank you. It's in his human-like form. We don't say human form. Some people think Krishna comes in a human form. He has a spiritual form, or he's impersonal in the spiritual sky, somewhere up there. But when he comes to this material world 5,000 years ago as the son of Vasudeva and Devaki, then he takes on a material body. But that's not true. That is not very knowledgeable, because Krishna, when he appears, first he appears in the mind of Vasudeva. He's transferred to Devaki, then appears as 400 Vishnu with helmet and bluish complexion and ornaments and garlands and anklets and bracelets, holding the 4 items of Vishnu, of the club and the chakra and the lotus and the conch. Which child is born like this if Krishna is an ordinary human being? We have never heard in the hospital, in the maternity unit, a child is born with 4 arms and a bluish complexion and a helmet and effulgence and a garland and ornaments, and no. That's the first proof. Krishna is not an ordinary human being. And only on the plea of his parents, because they were afraid of Kamsa, he took on a human-like form. They were afraid, if you be like that, my lord, then Kamsa, they will immediately realize and will try to kill you. So he took on the form of a normal baby. But he wasn't a normal baby. Krishna has a human-like form, but it's not a human form like ours. It has all spiritual potencies. How else could little 5-year-old Krishna pick up a huge hill with his left hand and hold it for 7 days and 7 nights on the little finger of his left hand? The left arm of the hand is much more weaker than the right. So it's the weakest hand. And the little finger is the weakest finger, and Krishna balanced that hill for 7 days and 7 nights. That is not an ordinary human being, not even a mystical yogi. Even a mystical yogi cannot do that. So Krishna has a spiritual body with all powers and opulences. Opulences, how do we know? When Krishna showed his universal form to Arjuna on the battlefield. Many people like that chapter with the universal form. It's very impressive. It shows the opulences of the Lord. Who can do that? Who can do that? Manifesting everything, whatever has been seen. everything what is being seen now and everything what will be seen in the future, all forms in the future. So many forms are there in the future, in the past and in the present. Arjuna could see everything in one spot in Krishna. Everything. That means the whole creation, all forms, seen because with his eyes. We're seen with the eyes. So the eyes perceive form, shape. So Krishna showed his universal form, past, present, and future. No ordinary being can do that. So that is the proof of his godhood, so to speak. Even powerful mystics cannot do that. And another occasion was when Mother Yashoda looked in Krishna's mouth because Balaram told on him, Krishna has eaten dirt, Krishna has eaten dirt. His mother, Yashoda, said, have you eaten dirt? No, I haven't eaten dirt. Actually, he had eaten dirt. No, I haven't. So open your mouth, let me see. So he opened his mouth. What did she see? By Krishna's mystic power, she saw herself and Krishna and all the universes, not just one universe, all the universes with innumerable galaxies and planets and millions and billions of stars, all within Krishna's mouth for a short time, because she became all bewildered. If we see the universal form of Krishna, what will be our first reaction? Oh, we falling down on the ground and pleading, oh my God, please protect me. Oh, Lord, you are the greatest. So immediately the awe and reverence comes. Huh? Arjuna could not maintain his friendship with Krishna. He was a friend of Krishna. But when he saw that universal form, he couldn't maintain his friendship. In fact, he apologized. Oh, my Lord, now I see who you really are. You're the supreme personality of Godhead. And I was not aware of that. I was eating with you together. We shared some preparations. We slept. We laying down on the same bed. We were so familiar with each other. I was so familiar with you because I didn't realize you're the supreme personality of Godhead. So immediately he offered prayers, all in awe and reverence. So that's a result if we're seeing the opulences of God. So Arjuna became fearful, seeing all these forms, and these forms only more than that. They all the warriors on both sides of the battle, there were 1 million people there assembled, and they all rushed into Krishna's mouth. Some trapped between his teeth. So Krishna was all devouring death. Krishna showed Arjuna, everybody will be finished on this battlefield. So he showed him the future. Wow, if we would see the future, how we will be vanished and everybody else. If we could see the future, how a nuclear mushroom, a nuclear war starts, would get very, very frightened. Very frightened. Arjuna was frightened like that. So he asked Krishna, please, show your two-handed form again. Which he was familiar with, the two-handed form. That was not fearful, that was beautiful. Enchanting. So that is Krishna's human-like form. So much power. And that same Krishna, who showed his universal form, who extends himself into each and every atom, Innumerable atoms are in this material world, in this universe, what to speak of innumerable universes. And Krishna extends himself personally as a Vishnu expansion. Vishnu Murti is in every atom. The atoms are always spinning around. Nothing would spin around without the presence of Krishna. Matter is dead without the presence of Krishna. Only due to that Vishnu Murti being in each and every atom, matter is moving. But that same Krishna is playing with his friends in the forest of Vrindavan and tending the cows and having loving relationships with the cowherd girls of Vrindavan. Who can imagine that? Even Lord Brahma couldn't imagine that. That is supposed to be God? He understood. Vishnu is my master. After all, he was born on the lotus, coming from the navel of Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, of Vishnu. He was born on the lotus, coming from his navel. So he could understand Vishnu, but that this boy playing like an ordinary child in the groves of Vrindavan, that is supposed to be this Vishnu. This is supposed to be that person on whose navel the lotus flower appeared and where I was born. So he couldn't understand that. Therefore he employed his mystical power to steal the boys and the calves. Of course, eventually it was revealed to him, and he regretted that, and he offered beautiful prayers. So this Lord, this Krishna who plays with his friends in the forest of Vrindavan, or as we mentioned last time, that they're playing tag or dodgeball. Any one of you ever played tag or dodgeball? You have a ball and you hit someone else and they're out of the play. They're the prisoners, so they're played. Dodgeball. Balaram had the ball. The cowherd boys, the Sakas, they pleaded with Balaram, please, don't do so hard. Because Balaram is very strong. If he throws a ball at someone, oh, it hurts. Please, Balaram, don't do it so hard. So Balaram had the ball, and if he hit the boy with a ball, then that boy became his prisoner. They were out of the game. If that boy somehow or other caught the ball, then the roles were reversed. Then he had to make prisoners and hitting other boys. Some boys were hiding behind the trees, in the bushes, not to be hit by Balaram's ball. So these are ordinary games. Even as children, we have played like that. And that same cowherd boy is the master of the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. And we can be overcome by any of these three modes, or as explained, the gunas, the rope. It's very rare that someone is in pure goodness, not in this material world at least, or in only passion or only ignorance. These modes are generally mixed. But even that changes. In the morning, goodness is more prevailing. Then once lunchtime comes around, the passion is there. People walking around, running around, busy. When Srila Prabhupada saw the cars going in New York, right and left, vroom, 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 he said, why is it going forth and back with the cars? And one moment they're going this side, the next moment they're coming back. Can they not settle their business by telephone? That's passion. Our whole Western civilization is based on the mode of passion. Building, bigger buildings, higher towers. bigger bridges. China has just built the highest and longest bridge in the world in just 5 years or something like that. So that's a mode of passion, and the mode of ignorance is just total forgetfulness. Look at the drunkards on the street, or those, if you have ever seen some pictures in American cities, where they're taking this kind of drugs, they're just slumping over and just in a most miserable condition. So this is a mode of ignorance. But the mode of ignorance also manifests for those in the pub. Go to a pub where the football game is on and they're cheering for this side or that side. Usually they're cheering for their home side. We don't dare to cheer for the other side, that's in trouble. And then the beer is going around and people becoming rowdy, and even a little occasion, then they start to fight. That's a mode of ignorance. Or other people, they're just taking shelter in sleep, like a bear, skunk. There's some animals that they're just sleeping a lot of time. A bear sleeps all over winter, hibernation. That's ignorance, mode of ignorance. So these modes are jostling for superiority. Sometimes the goodness prevails over passion and ignorance. A little bit over passion and ignorance. Sometimes the passion is more stronger than the goodness and ignorance, and sometimes the ignorance is more stronger. We can have practical experience of that. We can feel the mode of goodness. What are the signs, symptoms of the mode of goodness? We feel content, satisfied, unagitated, undisturbed, peaceful, happy even, is a mode of goodness. At times we feel like that. And then passion takes over. We want to just build something, do something, act in some ways. In the mode of goodness, we can just sit down peacefully, meditate perhaps. With the mode of passion, we have to do something with our hands, we have to run around, we have to action. And in the mode of ignorance, sometimes the mode of ignorance overcomes us. Everybody has experience. One moment we are in the mode of goodness, and by some influence, suddenly that goodness, the mode of ignorance overtakes the mode of goodness. And we go into the shop and take some forbidden articles like alcohol, or we wouldn't as devotees, hopefully. So this little boy, 5-year-old boy in Vrindavan, he is a master of these gunas of the goodness, passion and ignorance. Not directly, indirectly, through his energies. Krishna has innumerable energies, unbelievable how many energies, nobody can calculate. So Krishna says here in this verse, these 3 gunas are manifested by my energy. I'm in one sense everything, but I'm independent. Krishna is always independent. He's never touched by the modes of nature. And expressively he says that I am not under the modes of material nature. In contrary, they are within me. Then Srila Prabhupada points out in his purport, therefore Krishna is nirguna. Nir means not. Guna, we just explained, the modes of material nature. He's above the modes of nature, nirguna. And Srila Prabhupada says, although these gunas coming from Krishna, he is not affected. This is one of the special characteristics of Bhagavan, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So no moksha, no impersonal merging. One word more on that merging. An example. If we do some DIY at home, and we hammering the nail for the beautiful painting we have. We're hammering the nail into the wall, and the hammer slips and lands on our thumb. Oh, that hurts. Immediately we'll leave everything. We're going and put some cold water on that thumb, because that thumb immediately gets red and blue. Cold water will help to stop the pain. This is the impersonal moksha, merging into Krishna. Have enough of this world. Let me finish all off. Let me just merge. This liberation is called the Yujya Mukti. Yes, that's available, but devotees will not touch that kind of mukti. Because if we merge with Krishna, how can we serve Krishna? We want to serve Krishna. We want to relate with Krishna. We want to love Krishna. And in order to do that, it needs two. It needs a devotee and it needs Krishna. And it needs a relationship between both of them. That's the aim of Bhakti Yoga. That's the aim of devotional service. So merging, becoming one with the Supreme is out of question for devotees. But others want to merge. For them, it just means stopping the pain, like the cold water on the thumb after hitting it with a hammer. Stopping the pain. That's all what this impersonal moksha is. Stopping the pain. It doesn't mean attaining happiness. Happiness is beyond stopping the pain. That's not a very advanced position of just stopping this pain of this material world. No, we want more than that. We want to have a loving relationship with Krishna. Okay, any questions or comments? Rituan, let's start with you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, as you mentioned, Prabhuji, about the Mayavad. I mean, the Mayavadi impersonalists. Basically, they want. It's not like something positive. It's just like negating the negative. So, yeah, I mean, for some people, that is their ultimate goal. But for devotees, the goal is higher. But I have one question in the sense, like, it's said that practically, if you perform Krishna consciousness, you will get the ananda, and that's why the bliss, and then you'll feel that this bliss of Krishna consciousness is not at all comparable. I mean, nothing else is comparable to this. But I mean, as because we haven't continuously experienced this bliss, even to people like us, like myself, like, being free from all miseries seems so lucrative and seems such a good idea. Because, like, I heard one devotee, like, he was saying that why is it not possible to practice Krishna consciousness in heaven, and why is it not possible to practice Krishna consciousness in hell, but it is only possible to do it in this middle planetary system. So he was saying that in heaven, there is so much of material sense enjoyment that people feel that it's like eternal. Why do we need to because we are in always in this happiness we are enjoying, so why do we need to think about permanent happiness in the spiritual world, bliss? So they just don't, they remain immersed in that happiness, thinking that this is going to be perpetual. On the contrary, in the hell, it is so much of tribulations and so much of sufferings that people they don't have a scope to think about bliss. They just want to get out of this suffering. So to them, suffering is, I mean, to get out of the suffering is like the ultimate achievement. So, and we as we go by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we have come to know this about the spiritual world and the happiness that is there, which is a permanent happiness, which is nothing compared to any other happiness, even Brahmananda. But for people like me, it's more like, it's still like it's theoretical now. Definitely, yes, when we have association of devotees, when we do kirtan, we feel bliss. But again, as because that doesn't remain throughout the day, week, or month, or life. So, and then we are once we are out of that association, we again merge into all the tribulations and sufferings of this world, anxiety, work related, family related, whatever it might be. So coming out of it seems to be such a great idea. So that was my realization. Yeah.
Yes, very good, very good. The question could be raised: why are we one moment we are in transcendental bliss, particularly when we are in the association of devotees, doing some beautiful kirtan, associating together, doing arti, singing, chanting, prasadam, and the other moment we are engulfed in this material world. Why is this? Because we are not on the position and stage of nishta. Nishta means steadiness in devotional service in our Krishna consciousness. It's a very steady platform, nishta. Nishta means steadiness. Anything before nishta is, the mind is not steady. Our mind is anything else than steady. One moment the mind is pulled in this direction, one moment in that. So by practicing Krishna consciousness, the mind gets a bit stabilized, a bit. But still, up till Nishta, the mind is not really stable. Once we achieve that platform of Nishta, then the mind is so stable. The mind is so stable and fixed on Krishna it cannot be shaken by anything. On that platform, the devotee is not shaken by anything. By the greatest calamity, he's not shaken. By the greatest happiness, he's not shaken. Generally, people are, when something good happens, they're jumping on the ceiling in happiness. And when something bad happens, so-called bad, then they're completely devastated. So that it's like a yo-yo. A yo-yo is kind of toy on a string, around, it rolls up the string and goes up and down and up and down. So our life is like that, entire life, like a yo-yo, whatever the English name is for that, I don't know. And that's a waste of life's energy, being totally depressed and jumping for happiness and down and up and down and up. So that is not anywhere close to Nishta. On that platform of Nishta, one becomes steady. One knows good and bad. What does it mean, good and bad? This is the dualities of this world. Nothing is good in this material world. Well, ultimately, why? Because we have to die. We have to leave everything behind. So what is good? And nothing is good. That's a realistic assessment. That's not a pessimistic view. The optimistic view is just a big illusion. There's nothing in essence good in this material world. We shouldn't be here. We have come here somehow, but we shouldn't be here. And we realize we are here, we'll have to make a sincere endeavor to go back where we belong to. So we are in bad company of, like the material world is a prison house. We are in bad company with other prisoners. And we think, oh, everything is okay. No, nothing is okay. We have to get out of the prison. So we have to, and that will come if you practice our spiritual practices, in particular chanting Hare Krishna, attentively. That will accelerate the process. Regularly, attentively. Chanting Hare Krishna will stabilize the mind. There are so many, look on the internet, or have so many artificial methods of stabilizing the mind. Some even propose to empty the mind. The mind cannot be emptied. If the mind is empty, you are dead. The mind is always active, cannot be emptied. But the mind can be emptied of material thoughts and fill the mind with spiritual thoughts. It's a redirection of the mind. In this way, the mind can be controlled. Therefore, Krishna says, Man mana bhava mat bhakto, always think of me. Krishna has the best intentions for us, in our best interest. Just think of me, and your mind will be stabilized. Think of me always. Connect everything with me. Krishna is in one sense everything, as in this verse today. Krishna is everything. So what's the difficulty of connecting, being conscious of Krishna throughout the day, in everything, wherever we walk, wherever we go, whatever we do? So there's Krishna everywhere in his various manifestations, and we're seeing the manifestations, particularly the beautiful manifestations of nature. Immediately we think of Krishna. That little boy who plays in Vrindavan, that's Krishna.
Yes. Another question. So, understand the modes of the gunas.
Yes.
Supposing you have some bad news.
Yes.
I don't know, somebody passing away,
Yes.
your mom or your father or something. Then what mode of passion, what mode can you be in?
Well, the news itself is not in a mode, but the mode is how we're reacting. How does it make us feel? How does it make us feel? If we feel like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, a wise man, a learned Brahmin, he doesn't lament for the living or the dead. There's nothing to lament about, because life and death is happening all the time, all around us. Every minute there is death, and every minute there is new life. That's this material world. So there is, of course, we may be sad if we're losing the association of a loved person. That's one thing. But at the same time, we should know when, for instance, give you an example, when my mother passed away, it was very emotional, because they put some pictures there, and this and that, and the other people. So how did I stabilize my mind? I constantly chanted in my mind, Dehi nosmin yata dehi yavanam taradharade yahandara bhakti dhiras tatram namuyati. As the embodied soul travels from boyhood to youth to old age, so the soul, similarly, at the time of death, enters a new body. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. So that gave the focus on Krishna. Mother is not gone. Mother just appeared from our side, and she gets another chance somewhere else. Or another example, when a lady, a dear friend, he passed unexpectedly away in the hospital, and she was totally devastated. Totally. She couldn't collect her thoughts. She couldn't do nothing. She was overcome by lamentation. He was bewildered. It can be very bewildering if someone dear passes away. But then I talked to her. Your husband, he has not gone away. He's not dead. He has just gone somewhere else. There's a big difference if we think someone has disappeared forever or someone is just disappearing out of our sight. Very big difference. The same we know with Srila Prabhupada. Some people sometimes think Srila Prabhupada is dead. No, Srila Prabhupada is not dead. He's just disappeared of our sight. With mundane eyes we cannot see him, but we can feel his presence. Every time we open Bhagavad Gita, reads the Bhaktivedanta purpose, there is Srila Prabhupada. That's his presence, that's his Vani. So in this way, we shouldn't be, or we should remember Krishna when something like that happens, like you gave that example, someone passes away, someone dear, then remember that verse, that as we change our bodies from childhood to youth, boyhood to youth to old age, and at the time of death we enter another body, so that will sober us up. That we should remember. When someone dear passes away, it's not just finished. It just disappears from our vision. That's all. But that's after all not that bad. As someone is completely finished, disappears in a black hole. Never been seen again. Never, no contact, dead, finished. That's one kind of vision. We, with a vision of knowledge and Krishna's vision, Bhagavad Gita, we know that's not the case. That person has gone somewhere else. Does it make any sense, Amit?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, no, it makes sense. I think, but yes, it's something which I guess you can only do when it happens.
Yes.
You know, when I guess it's different relative kind of like feelings, you know, when
Yes.
other people are passing away, yes, you feel, you know, sad. But I guess when somebody very close to you passes away, then you can only try to do that when it happens. You know, you can prepare yourself, but I guess it's a test, or not a test, but you know,
Well,
it's a
it's a
learning.
test. Yes,
It's a
it's a
learning.
test. It's a test and a learning experience, but we can not only do that when it happens, we can prepare ourselves. If we lead a Krishna conscious life, if we are conscious of Krishna, and we know the facts of this world, that birth and death happening, nothing is finished. It's just disappearing out of our sight, just like the sun is disappearing in the evening, and a small child may even cry, the sun is dead, the sun is gone. No, it will come again tomorrow morning. Oh, okay. So if we train or train ourselves in Krishna consciousness with that kind of vision, that we are acutely aware that the soul is eternal, that we are eternal because we are the soul. If we are aware we are eternal, we're just changing bodies like an actor changes bodies. Then when the time comes that someone passes away, what to speak, we are passing away. We are on the verge of death. If we can be sober in such a situation, we have been trained throughout our life to understand what's happening, and not only theoretically understand, but we have realized it practically. Then it will be very easy. For a devotee who passes away, there's nothing to lament. Why lament? If a devotee passes away, he's going back home to Godhead. Why lament if someone goes back home to Godhead? It is joyful. Like in Vrindavan, if someone passes away, they have kirtan, they're singing and dancing, because they know this person is going back home to Godhead, is going to the spiritual world. There's nothing to lament, there's nothing to cry. Of course, sometimes we are overtaken by material emotions. But in fact, there is nothing to lament. As Krishna says, a wise and learned man doesn't lament. Not for the living and not for the dead. Okay, Vichai, any question?
I had a question about spiritual master.
Okay.
If the spiritual master cannot save his disciple from confusion, then he's not a spiritual master.
Correct.
So I've heard that many disciples, they they get disillusioned and they leave their spiritual master. So does that mean that the spiritual master is not a genuine one because he couldn't save them from confusion?
Well, there's two things to consider. The disciple may just maintain his material attachments. He doesn't want to be saved, really. He's not sincere. That can mean that. But the spiritual master must have that ability to save the disciples, his dependents, his disciple, as much as parents must have that ability to make sure that the child will not take another birth. So the spiritual master must be supremely qualified to save his disciples. And if the disciple is not sincere enough or deviates, then the spiritual master will come back again and again until the disciple has gone back home to Godhead. So two things. Either the disciple is not sincere and serious, or the spiritual master is not really qualified. If the spiritual master is qualified to take his disciples back home to Godhead, he is a pure devotee, like Srila Prabhupada. And the disciple is also qualified of being fully surrendered to the spiritual master. There's no question that disciple will go back home to Godhead in this very lifetime. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, just one other thing. If you follow the regulated principles, are you in the hands of your spiritual master, or are you in the hands of Krishna, or both?
You're in the hands of the spiritual master, but if you're in the hands of the spiritual master, you're automatically in the hands of Krishna, because the spiritual master is a right-hand man of Krishna.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Surrendering to the spiritual master means surrendering to Krishna. Surrendering to Krishna and not to the spiritual master is not possible. Krishna will not accept.
Right. Okay. But do you have to be initiated or not?
When we have to talk, what does initiation mean?
Mm.
What does initiation mean? Initiation means you have to surrender your heart to the spiritual master. That's a real initiation. It's a formal initiation externally with a fire yagya and giving the beads, and that's just another confirmation. That's also important. That's also nice. But like Srila Prabhupada, he said, when I met my spiritual master for the first time, I accepted him within my heart as my guru, as my all and everything. That was my initiation. His formal initiation came something like 10 years later.
Mm-hmm.
You see that our surrender, that is amazing. Oh, another incident where Srila Prabhupada said to one boy who was really distributing books a lot. Srila Prabhupada said, your enthusiasm, that's your initiation. My touch is just a formality. Interesting. The touch is also there. But the more important thing is, Srila Prabhupada said, knowledge, that's a purpose of education. To be officially accepted in an institution of knowledge, school, university, that's just formality. So the essence of initiation is within our heart. We surrender to a qualified, bona fide spiritual master. That's the essence of initiation. And then the external manifestation that can help us also, because we're making promises of the principles and chanting 16 rounds in front of fire, in front of the deities, in front of assembled Vaishnavas. So that makes us strong. If we just make promises ourselves, we can easily break it. Or nobody knows about it. I promise, we know that. On New Year's Day, people making, I turn my life around, I promise her. A week later, they're already breaking it. Does that answer your question?
Yes, yes, yeah. You consider both sides, the disciples kind of his true nature, his kind of why is he genuinely surrendering, or is he not? And
that's the
yeah,
point.
yeah.
That's the point. Genuinely surrendering. That's the critical point. If you want to know more about initiation, there is a beautiful book which I can make available to you. It's a compilation of all of Srila Prabhupada's quotes on initiation, what it means, and it's called The Spiritual Master and the Disciple. That you study that, and it gives you characteristics, qualification of a bona fide spiritual master. But likewise, it gives you qualifications of the bona fide disciple. Sometimes we think we are just completely in ignorance and it's a one-way street. We don't have any qualification. Well, we don't, but we shouldn't have any qualification. It's all on the spiritual master. No, the disciple has to be also qualified. In fact, if a spiritual master accepts an unqualified disciple, he will be tracked down from his position. What means an unqualified disciple? It means someone who is not sincere, who's just putting on a show. No one should not. The spiritual master will not accept a disciple who's just putting on a show. The spiritual master will see that. He will know. Krishna will tell him, this is a sincere soul. So that book gives the qualification of a guru and of the disciple also. Both have to meet. If the guru is qualified and the disciple is qualified, then the exchange of divya gyan, means transcendental knowledge, will take place. There is no exchange process of divya gyan if the guru is not qualified, or if the disciple is not qualified. Both have to be qualified. Then divya gyan will be exchanged, and then we'll get that transcendental knowledge how to get out of this material world. Okay, I think we have to stop here.